So welcome to the screencast for ELL227, Language Attitudes. My name's Chris Montgomery. I'm a lecturer in dialectology. My research deals with the field of perceptual dialectology, which directly relates to language attitudes. I'm interested in where people think dialect areas exist, but I'm also interested in what people think about particular varieties of English, which is directly applicable to the language attitudes module. I've got publications in various edited volumes: the Journal of Sociolinguistics, the Journal of Linguistic Geography, and those last two publications in the Journal of Sociolinguistics and the Journal of Linguistic Geography relate directly to the field of language attitudes, more broadly conceived in my work as perceptual dialectology research. So the course outline then deals with the sorts of things that are being seen increasingly in the media in Britain recently. So here are a selection of news articles about schools banning slang or banning particular local pronunciations or lexical items, about a news presenter being discriminated against because of her accent, and other media coverage about the way in which language should be used in school by children. And these pieces of media, pieces of commentary from various sources demonstrate that language attitudes are really very pervasive in society. Everybody has language attitudes, and these are examples of these attitudes being demonstrated in public. So the key aspects of the course then will enable you to develop a critical understanding of language attitudes. So you'll be able to look at the media landscape, you'll be able to look at coverage like that and understand what's going on, what's being displayed, what language attitudes are being displayed. You'll get a critical introduction to a range of techniques that have been used to investigate language attitudes. So you'll look at how people have studied language attitudes, not just looking at media coverage, we'll cover that as well, but also how people have been able to quantify language attitudes using various techniques. Throughout the module, you'll reflect on your own language attitudes and how they compare to those uncovered by language attitude studies. So do your attitudes correspond to those that have been uncovered elsewhere? You'll understand and develop an understanding of the impact of language attitudes in a wider context. So again, thinking about those newspaper articles, that newspaper coverage, what are the impact of those types of media, and what's the impact on users of non-standard varieties and standard varieties of English? And you'll do that by conducting and presenting research into language attitudes either in Britain or further afield. So as part of the module, you will do a piece of research that looks at language attitudes, and you can do that in Britain or further afield. So here are your assessments for the language attitudes module, the three assessments. And the first assessment is a 5-minute presentation, that's worth 10%. The second assessment is a research poster presentation, worth 40%. And then your final assessment is a research report worth 2,000 words, and that's worth 50%. So the assessments go up in percentage value, starting off with the presentation. The presentation will be submitted electronically. It won't be done in front of the class as you may have done previous presentations. You'll do this on your own. There's no group work components in this module. So you prepare a 5-minute presentation and you'll submit that electronically, and the help and guidance to do that using screencast software such as that I'm using to do this screencast. That will be given to you in the module, and you'll have a chance to get some training using that software. The presentation then is aimed to test your understanding of some of the key aspects of the first few weeks of the module. So thinking about where attitudes come from, how we might be able to analyse the different components of attitudes, and what methods have been used to look at various components of attitudes. So it tests your understanding of these key aspects in the first few weeks of the module, but it also allows you to get some really early feedback so that you can assess where you are with the module, areas you need to work on, areas that you're comfortable with. So you're able to get some feedback very early on in the module by around week 4 or 5. The second assessment then is worth 40%, so a little bit more than the first assessment, and this is a research poster presentation. Now, as part of the module, as I explained earlier, you will conduct a piece of language attitudes research. And this research will be done over the Easter vacation period and sometime after it, and will be submitted as part of Assessment 3, as I'll explain in a moment. Assessment 2 will present the methodological section of your research. So you'll discuss in the poster presentation the methods you're going to use in your investigation, and you'll explain your aims, your research questions, and your hypothesis or hypotheses. So you'll review the literature in the chosen topic area that you want to look at. You'll develop an understanding of what you might find out. You'll develop some research questions about what you specifically want to ask about language attitudes in Britain or further afield. And then you'll predict what you might find. And you'll do that by critically appraising and assessing the work that other people have done. The poster presentation then will take place before you go and collect any of your data, and it allows you to get verbal and written feedback before you go out and gather your data. So it's a really important marker along the way of the research project, and it allows you to get some feedback and some detailed feedback specifically on the methods that you plan to use so that you're able to do the best piece of investigative work possible. And that work is what you'll write up in Assessment 3. This is a research report, so it'll be a write-up of your research project. You'll discuss your research findings. You'll relate it back to previous work. You'll demonstrate how your findings link to that previous research, and you'll be able to discuss how language attitudes are expressed and formed. So Assessments 2 and 3 relate to this larger piece of work, this piece of language attitudes research that you'll undertake. The first bit of that assessment, so Assessment 2, the poster presentation, will look at the methods you're going to use, enable to get feedback, verbal and written feedback. You'll then use that feedback to refine the method or to go ahead and gather some data. You'll then gather the data and you'll write up that as a research report over 2,000 words for Assessment 3, which is worth 50% of the module mark. The teaching you receive will be a variety of teaching methods depending on the size of the module. So you'll have 1 hour lectures and 1 hour workshops. And there'll also be fortnightly study hour sessions, and they'll comprise a variety of activities. So this year we've looked at some data analysis, we've analysed various methods and looked very critically at the different methods that might be used in language attitude studies. We've conducted a debate looking at whether we should have compulsory dialect reduction classes in order to discuss language attitudes and the attitudes held in society. You'll also, in those sessions, be encouraged to bring evidence of your work and also how media attitudes are expressed elsewhere. The teaching schedule then for the module is, as you can see on the slide here. This is what we've done this year. Certain topics might change slightly, but this is the general way in which the course is structured. So you can see weeks 1 to 12 there in the first column, and we start off with introductory material, thinking about what language attitudes are, thinking about different ways of studying it. And those first 3 weeks are what the first assessment will relate to. You'll then get feedback hopefully very quickly, week 4, week 5 at the very latest. Then we'll deal with, from weeks 4 to 7, we'll deal with specific methodologies and specific findings from those using those methodologies. And that will all lead up to your poster presentations, which will take place around week 8, perhaps slightly sooner, slightly earlier, depending on the precise makeup of the year and how long you're going to have to do your field work. After your poster presentations, you'll get verbal feedback during the poster presentation itself, so you'll be able to know whether your methodology is going to work, and you'll then go off after that and complete your field work. Whilst you're doing your fieldwork and just after you've done your fieldwork, you'll get some guidance on how to present Assessment 3. We'll talk about processing language attitudes data, and then we'll think right at the very end of the course about some of those implications of language attitudes and think about language attitudes in education in particular. And after reading week, you will submit your research report at some point after that. The study hour then will, you can see every 2 weeks, is then designed to support key aspects of the fortnight to which it refers. As I say, this This schedule is subject to change for next year. Some of these sessions might be longer. I might cover certain aspects in a little bit more detail, take a couple of aspects out potentially, but that's going to depend very much on the module feedback that I receive this year. So there could be some slight tinkering to this schedule, so don't think that this is going to be exactly how the module will run. It's roughly how the module will run, but we can of course change the odd session here and there. So by the end of the module then, you'll have done a lot of work hopefully, and you'll have covered 6 key topics, and there's 6 key things that I want you to have got out of the module. I want you to understand the role that attitudes play in everyday life. I'd like you to develop a critical understanding of a varied range of techniques that have been used to investigate language attitudes. I'd like you to compare the results of language attitude studies with those held by yourself and by others. I'd like you to reflect on the foundation of language attitudes. I would like you to have had an introduction to theories relating to language attitudes in society, and of course I'll have wanted you to design and undertake a piece of language attitudes research in order to do all of those previous learning outcomes. I'm happy to give you more information. Feel free to email me. You can follow me on Twitter or give me a ring, and if you need any more information about this module, then do feel free to contact me via any of those means. Thank you.